Since the draft ended, the buzz among the Niners faithful has been nonstop. And let's be honest, this draft was anything but safe. It was aggressive, full of sharp turns, and filled with bold moves that speak volumes about what the San Francisco 49ers believe in, and perhaps, more importantly, what they don't believe in. But here's where it gets interesting. The front office clearly went all in on identity. They picked players not just for their numbers or traits, but for their attitude, arrogance, toughness. Guys who play like they have something to prove. And if you're a fan of that old-school Robert Saleh-style defense, you might think this year's draft was made for you. But even with the strength of the defense, they left some fans. Maybe you, puzzled by the offensive line. Before we continue, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to stay in the know. Now the question is, for a team that couldn't score at the goal line last season, that struggled in short yardage situations, and that hasn't really invested in its offensive line in years, to wait until the 7th round to draft an offensive lineman is either a genius move or a foolhardy one. And if you're thinking, but we have Jake Brendel, Colton McKivitz, and DJ Humphries, remember, if a hamstring pulls the wrong way, we're risking depth that's already thin. Now, before we go deeper into that, let's talk about what the 49ers did accomplish. They entered this draft with 11 picks and went to work, fixing what's been a glaring problem, the defense, especially against the run. Enter Malachi Williams, Alfred Collins, CJ West. 3 guys who could step in and contribute immediately. Especially Collins, who might have been a second-round reach, but fits the Niners' mold. Big, physical, disruptive, and experienced. And Williams, maybe you're still undecided. Critics say he's stiff, a one-dimensional edge setter, but he's only 20, ran a sub 4.640 at 267 pounds, and has freakishly long arms. He's raw, yes, but he's learning from Nick Bosa. If that potential gets unlocked, we might be talking about a future star. Still, the Williams pick drew heat, some calling it a classic traits-over-tape move. But here's where it gets spicy. Behind the scenes, some NFL coaches believe Williams was flat-out misused at Georgia, that in a 4-3 setup, opposite a monster like Bosa, he could wreak havoc. That's not speculation. That's a coach who scouted. Him saying, he's got more upside than Abdul Carter. Bold and risky, because if he can't develop into more than a first and second down run defender, then what we've got is a guy who flashes but doesn't finish. It wasn't just the defensive front that got love. Upton Stout is a name to remember. At 5'9", 190, he's not built like your typical NFL corner, but man, does he hit. Physical, relentless. Think of the attitude that Dre Greenlaw brings. Now shrink it into a cornerback's body and throw him into the mix. Nick Martin, too. Smaller, linebacker, but you can't teach what he brings. 140 tackles last year, 16 for loss, 6 sacks. He plays like his hair's on fire. Both of those guys are what this team's been missing. Dogs. People who walk onto the field with a chip on their shoulder and a message to deliver. But still, that offensive line. Chase Sr. said it best. He's been begging the 49ers to fortify the trenches for years. And yet, with glaring needs at left guard, center, and right tackle, they waited until the very end to grab Connor Colby, a smart, nasty, undersized lineman from Iowa. Scheme fit? Sure. But is he a day one starter? Doubtful. And while Colby may become a steal, pinning all hopes on a 7th rounder screams of wishful thinking. If Trent Williams or Colton McKivitz goes down, the depth chart is terrifying. Austin Pleasance, Gutierrez, Alarcone. No one's mistaking these names for anchors. It makes you wonder, is Kyle Shanahan relying too much on his own system to mask flaws up front? Is he assuming that scheme trumps talent? And maybe that's worked. Until it doesn't. Because when you're lining up across from a team like Philadelphia or Kansas City, with elite D linemen blowing up plays before they start, all the creativity in the world can't stop a pocket from collapsing. Shanahan is brilliant, but even brilliance needs a foundation. Now, let's not forget the offense entirely. Jordan Watkins at wide receiver, slept on pick. Undersized, sure, but fast, explosive, and productive. He doesn't drop passes, tracks the ball better than Danny Gray ever did, and stepped up as the #1 option at Ole Miss when Trey Harris went down. He's a true see it, catch it, go guy, something the Niners have been missing. With uncertainty around Brandon Ayuk, a potential suspension for Demarcus Robinson, and questions about Joanne Jennings' consistency, Watkins might matter more than most realize. And let's talk running backs. Jordan James in the 5th round. and Corey Kiner after the draft. Two bruisers who could actually stick. James has the rigs, patience and vision that Kyle and Bobby Turner love. Doesn't fumble. Good pass protector. Checks every box. Kiner? Missed tackles galore. Elite PFF grades. And that filthy spin move. There's a real chance he makes this roster. And the truth is, Kyle's system doesn't need a first-round back to thrive. It needs guys who can see a crease and hit it. These, too, might be that. Before we wrap this first half, here's the bottom line. The 49ers didn't play it safe. They went for upside, culture, identity. And while they fortified a defense that desperately needed juice, they might have gambled too. Hard on an offensive line that can't afford another down year. This team is good. Damn good. But good isn't enough. Not when the window's open, not when you're this close. So let's open it up. What do you think? Did the 49ers crush this draft or miss key opportunities? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's pick up where we left off, because here's the twist that's got every Niners fan talking. What if the 49ers actually hit on most of these picks, but miss the playoffs because the offensive line crumbles again when it matters most? That's not just a hypothetical, it's a real concern. And when you dive deeper into the roster construction, the risk becomes glaring. DJ Humphries was a flashy pickup, but let's not kid ourselves. He's been playing left tackle for nearly a decade and hasn't taken snaps at right tackle since 2016. Expecting him to suddenly become your insurance policy on both ends of the line is not just optimistic, it's dangerous. If either Trent Williams or McKivitz gets hurt, this line becomes a liability fast. And let's not even start on the backups like Austin Pleasance or Gutierrez. This is why fans are worried. But now flip it back to the defense. There's legit excitement brewing. CJ West is a name that keeps popping up, a force on the interior with strength, balance, and a motor. Combine him with Alfred Collins, massive body, freakish length, and you suddenly have a chance to stop the bleeding that's hurt the Niners in the run game for 2 seasons. These aren't just hopeful additions. They're high-floor guys. And more importantly, they're experienced. Collins had over 60 games at Texas. West was dominant late in the year. These guys aren't projects. They're plug-and-play. And then there's Junior Bergen. You might not know his name now, but you will. One of the best punt returners in FCS history. Not flashy at the combine, but quick in tight spaces, decisive and dangerous. Think about how many times the Niners have failed to flip the field with special teams. Bergen brings that potential. He's a chess piece, and in a game of inches, that matters. Look, the truth is simple. The 49ers took a draft class that was always going to be under a microscope, and they swung hard. There are still gaps. Offensive line remains fragile, wide. Receiver depth is thin. The quarterback room has questions if anyone behind Brock Purdy is forced into action. But what they did do is inject youth, energy, and toughness back into this locker room. For the first time in a couple years, it feels like the Niners are hungry again, not just polished. So, here's what I want to know from you. Yes, you watching right now. Did this draft give you more confidence that the 49ers can finally get over the hump? Or do you see too many risks? Too many question marks? Too many ifs? Drop a like if you made it this far. Subscribe for more 49ers coverage all season long. And don't forget to leave your take in the comments. Let's talk football. Go Niners!